right, hey, what's up, y'all? So today I want to take a moment and reiterate the goals that we have going forward for the next 2 weeks. All right, this past weekend we had an amazing meeting. If you weren't there, you missed it. If you weren't there, you were missed. Super educational, super dynamic, a lot of good discussions. It was concise. We got done like an hour and a half, which is unheard of for me. But you know, I really feel like at this point, a lot of people are understanding what it is we're trying to do. All right. So the first 2 weeks, I know for a lot of us, it's new information. We're trying to figure out how to make this work in a family dynamic and a career, and just trying to figure out how to make all this work in general. And then add to that, we're figuring out about ourselves, and we're learning about our habituations and conditioning and our urges and cravings and addictions. And for a lot of us, that's really, really difficult. And we talked about this in the meeting. It has to happen. Like, this learning process has to happen. We've all been there, and it's so worthwhile. There's nothing that is worth more of your effort and time and energy than figuring out this piece of it and how to make this work in a modern lifestyle, because this is about long-term health, quality of life, longevity. This is about being the most amazing version of yourself. So it's totally worth it. Okay. So let's just reiterate what it is we're trying to do overall. Remember, with Real Food, we have two main focuses. The first focus is eating for nutrients. We want to contribute to this amazing body. Nutrients are what builds this body. Nutrients are what contribute to the structure and form. And then also they're the precursors to all the different reactions, biochemical, metabolic. Even our thinking and our emotions are all nutrient precursor based. We also want to eat in a way that nurtures the body's own self-sufficiency, self-reliance, metabolic flexibility, and fat burning. So to do this, we want to eat real food. All right. And remember, real food, our definition of real food is what builds this body. So animal meats, traditional fats, nutrient-dense vegetables, full-fat dairy if you tolerate it, all those things are really beneficial to building what this body is. And then eating in a way that nurtures the body's own self-sufficiency and self-reliance means that we're being strategic with our carbohydrates. So remember, no carbohydrates or no dominant carbohydrates first part of the day. We allow space in between meals with no snacking, and then we have a little bit of carbohydrates in the evening or towards the evening from real food sources, ideally measured out in that 3/4 of a cup each of safe starches and fruits. And if we do that, that's the formula for success for a lifetime. So again, first 2 weeks for a lot of people was new, and we had a chance to just sit down in this meeting and take a big picture look at what we're trying to do. What are we trying to do here? We're trying to eat real food. We're trying to be strategic with our carbohydrates, and we're trying to allow space and not eating. That is it. That's the template for life. Even though we're going to facilitate a little bit more complex experiments as we go forward, if we can just always bring it back to that. What are we trying to do? We're trying to eat real food. We're trying to be strategic with carbs, and we're trying to allow space in between meals with no eating. That's it. All right. So the goals going forward, in addition to what we've already mentioned, in addition to what we learned before, one of the things we talked about was trying to be a real foodie and thinking of yourself as a real foodie, meaning that we want to try to eat as close to 100% fresh real food as possible and try to stay away from all those different approved items. So remember, we talked about part of this new lifestyle is moving away from all the processed foods and the crap foods to maybe some things that are made with the right ingredients. They're a little bit less toxic. But over time, what we find is that those things probably don't serve our long-term goals. And so what we want to do is commit to just eating 100% fresh real food to the best of our abilities, and only turning to those approved chips and crackers and cookies and ice creams made with the right ingredients on special occasions, and gluten-free pizzas and eating out and things like that. Because if we want to look, feel, and perform our best, then 100% fresh real food is what's going to make that happen. And of course, we're all meeting that where we can. It's great to have these options, but going forward, our goal is to think of ourselves as real foodies and always ask the question, what would a real foodie do in this situation? All right. Another goal was moving from 3 meals a day to 2 meals a day. And for most of us, the recommendation is just to skip breakfast, maybe make your breakfast, have that first meal ready and available, and then let some space happen in the first part of the day. Because when you wake up in the morning, you're already fasted. You've already been without food for 8 or 9 or 10 hours. And so your body's already in the state of trying to figure out energy on its own. So let's nurture that a little bit more by allowing some more space. And again, meeting that where you feel comfortable, not forcing that. So maybe making your first meal, taking it with you, and then eating when you're truly hungry, which for a lot of people may be 10, 11, 12, 1. We got some people making it till 2 or 3 sometimes. And the goal is not to have as much space as possible. The goal is just to have a little bit more space than you were having before, right? I think for most people, long term, the sweet spot for number of meals is going to be 2 meals per day. And for most people, that looks like a lunch and a dinner, all right? Also, we talked a lot about having this conscious participation in the eating process, meaning that when we're at a decision moment, we want to be present with it. Understanding that we're not going to be perfect with it all the time. None of us are. We're all working on this. We're all showing up, doing the best we can with what we have. But what we want is to be consciously present in those decisions, because if we're consciously present, over time, we're more likely to make better decisions, all right? So conscious participation in the eating process means that when you feel like you want to eat or need to eat, you just pause and ask the question, do I need to eat? Should I eat? Is this something that I should be eating? How is this going to make me feel? How is this going to make me feel the next day? How do I want to feel? How do I want to feel the next day? Just being present with that decision-making process, all right? We also talked a little bit around training and how we want to go into most workouts fasted. And for most of us, that means 3 to 5 hours of space since our last meal before the workout. Because if we go into a workout, what's optimal is not having anything to digest in the stomach or upper GI. Because if I go into a workout with food in my upper GI, then I'm asking my body to digest and to work out at the same time. And physiologically, it's not optimal. And then also, if my body is getting energy from food during a workout, it's not having to prioritize how it makes energy. And what we want during workouts is ultimate metabolic flexibility. And so the body has to figure out how to make energy and how to prioritize how it creates energy. And that only happens if we go into a workout fasted, right? We did talk about, you can go into a workout with a little bit of caffeine, but we definitely don't want any nutrients such as sugar or starch or glucose or proteins, all right? Another goal that we had was a solitary walk. So we talked about how important it was to have some time with your own mind. And anyone that follows me on social media probably hears this a lot, but I'm a big believer in starting the day with some time with your own mind, void of external inputs, void of conversations with other people, void of music, podcasts, books. There's a place for all those things, but we want some time in each day where we can just be with ourselves in our own mind, and that means allowing some positive creative thinking. And walking is great because you'll notice that when you move, moving tends to facilitate some positive thought. And during that walk, you definitely want to notice yourself thinking about anything that's negative or self-defeating or not serving you and turn away from that. But allow yourself to freely think about things that serve you, maybe even do a little bit of envisioning, right? But if you commit to 15 to 45 minutes of walking every day, again, without your phone, or if you have your phone, it's in airplane mode and somewhere where you can't mess with it. And again, not talking to anyone, not listening to music, not listening to podcasts or books. If you can commit to 15 to 45 minutes of solitude on a walk, I promise you it will change your life. Game changer, all right? Another thing we talked about was trying to improve sleep a little bit. And so our goal at the first meeting was to try to allot 7 to 8 hours of bedtime, maybe setting an alarm in your phone to remind you to get to bed on time. If you wanted to add to that, we'd say getting outside and getting some brightness from the sun. Cumulative 30 minutes every day is going to be enough to set circadian rhythms and habituate yourself to some good sleep patterns. And again, we're not looking for some sun tanning necessarily, although that is beneficial. What we're looking for is to be outside, outdoors, in the brightness, so that brightness is getting into our retinas and giving us a signal of what time of day it is. And if we do that consistently over time, we start to see better energy levels during the day. We notice ourselves getting tired when it gets dark, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for better quality sleep from getting brightness every day. We also talked about hydration and the importance of mineralizing your water. So most of the water that we consume is going to be really clean, but if you look at the water or the fluids inside the body, most of it's not really clean water. So we have tears and mucus and saliva, digestive juices. Even our interstitial fluid probably resembles more of salt water than it does anything else. And so it's beneficial to consume water with some minerals in it, because then we activate the water, we make it more absorbable, and the body doesn't have to use its own nutrients to process that water and convert it into tears and mucus and saliva and digestive juices and stuff like that. So we highly recommend mineralizing your water, adding a pinch of unrefined salt to everything that you drink. The bigger the vessel, the more salt you can add. Definitely don't make it taste like salt water. And then we also have some trace mineral products that we recommend people experiment with. And again, just understanding what we're trying to do is give the body a more useful type of water, which means activating the water. It's not about how much nutrients can I cram into it, but it's really about giving the body something that it can use. And what we don't want to add to that is any glucose or starch or sugar or any proteins, because most of us are probably going to be drinking water in space, and in that space we want to be void of caloric input to the best of our abilities. All right. We also talked about mindset and practice. Again, the solitary walk is huge in cultivating a positive mindset because you allow yourself to think positively and creatively. And then we also made a plug for creating your vision statement and using those if-then statements if you haven't made those for yourself already. And then for accountability, we had a really good discussion around the diligence tracker. So I think these first 2 weeks, there was some apprehension about the diligence tracker. And maybe it's a little bit self-induced. Maybe we accidentally created that, but I think a lot of people were worried about comparing themselves to other people, being compared to other people publicly, or having their numbers displayed or something like that. We want everyone to understand that the tools that we offer here are for your own personal development, and that's it. Like, we're not going to be judging you or grading you or comparing you to other people or putting your numbers on display. What we want to see is that you're using some kind of a tool to help you make progress and to help you make better decisions. So if we had to summarize, how do we make this work? We're learning some really good information at the meetings, or if you're not making the meetings, you're watching these videos and stuff. So learning is part of the deal, right? But we also have to put this stuff into practice. How do we do that? Well, we have to have a vision for ourselves. We have to think about what it is that we want and who we want to become. It's beneficial to use those if-then statements. But then also, we have to have some way of tracking progress, whether that progress is with our diligence and our activities, or if it's the results that we're seeing. And we think one of the best ways to do that is that diligence tracker, because you can see how many days you've been on it, where you've been suboptimal, and what you can do a little bit better. All right? So, if I could make a few more plugs, one of them would be for making sure that you create your vision statements. We have so many different resources. We'll definitely link to all that on how to brainstorm creating your vision statements. Whether you're using focusing on what's wrong to focus on what's right, or using what's wrong to focus on what's right, using some specific goals to create some daily activities and habits and routines, or thinking about the kind of person you want to be in these different areas of your life, somehow coming up with a total vision statement for yourself so you can sit down every day and think about the kind of person you want to become. All right? And then, of course, we recommend using those if-then statements to negate those problem areas that you know you're going to encounter most days. We also talked about perfection. A lot of people come into this wanting things to be right and wanting to do everything right. Nobody is perfect. We all come into this doing the best we can with what we have. I think we want to strive for perfection without an expectation of perfection. We want to do the very best that we can, while at the same time being easy on ourselves and practicing love and kindness to ourselves, and understanding that as we do the best that we can, there is no such thing as failure. There's only feedback, meaning that I am either getting the results that I want, or I'm getting feedback from a suboptimal moment telling me what I need to do to change to get the results that I want. Or maybe even sometimes we're doing what we think is right, and we get some feedback that tells us maybe we're not doing what's right. And that's also a learning moment, right? So all of it contributes to the greater good, as long as we have this preconceived idea that I'm going to keep moving forward no matter what, and keep trying each and every day. And as we're trying, as we're getting feedback, we always want to remember better is better. Right? Whether it's better diligence or feeling better, even if it's very, very small increments of better, those small increments of better add up over time, and they're cumulative over time. So we want to look for better. Better is better, and we'll take better over not better any day of the week. Okay? So make it a great 2 weeks, y'all. Use your group leaders. Reach out to us if you have any questions. We are committed to supporting you and sending out constant content, and just let us know if there's anything we can do for you, okay?